feeding all this into your brain. So then after you get returned to wherever they have kidnapped you, right? That's the thoughts you have in your mind. Oh, they're here to help us. They're here to serve mankind. They got all these spaceships protecting Earth. Well, you know what? You were brainwashed.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like a living oxymoron, because while they're doing that, they're got you thinking this. They're doing experiments on you. Hello.
Yeah.
I take real exception to, if this is a case where the aliens are enticing people by using that line of thinking to think, we come to save you out of your predicament. We come to help mankind or solve your problems for you or be your savior or anything like that. And I really don't like that, because it's like, you're just taking away the free will of people. But people have to decide to save themselves. The people have to decide to turn things around and treat this planet better than they have.
How do you do it?
Well, that's a good question.
How do you do it?
And there's so many that don't.
Okay, how do you do it? Look what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now. Politics. What's been going on for the last 10 years in politics? Nobody seems to be doing anything about it. You really see there is groups like Greenpeace and all these other things are trying to save Earth, try to save, animals, trying to save our whatever, right? But the majority of people don't care. They only care about a couple things. One, they care about their family. They care about going to work and getting paid. And then they want their toys and their freedom. But they don't really care what's really going on. Or if they say they care, they're not making any effort. Do you realize if everybody, it wrote a letter to their congressman and senator and says, hey, we want the EPA restored. We want, clean air. We want this. We want that. Things would change, but people don't do that. Or very few people do that. They think somebody else is going to do it, so they don't have to do it.
Very passive, I know. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, that if the majority of mankind decide not to take responsibility for their personal actions, then they better get used to the idea that they're going to be under servitude to an alien race that will eventually come here and take care of matters for them. But they'll be under their servitude at that point.
Hey, think of all this. FEMA camps. There's FEMA camps all across the country. They've been sitting empty pretty much for how many years now? And you think about all this stuff, maybe something down the road is going to happen. Why would we have FEMA camps built to imprison the population or big hunks of the population? Is it connected with maybe aliens or a shadow government or something? It's scary, because if you look how many FEMA camps there are that are just empty and not utilized, I mean, why would we build them? Why do we?
Sorry.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of homeless people that seem to be missing nowadays.
Plus, it looks like they maybe have those out there, like you're saying, Gary, because they know something could happen that we don't know. So that could be it too.
Well, it could be. I don't know. But think about this in Germany, okay? The first people were sacrificed, okay, were people that had mental issues, people that were in mental homes, okay? Be it if they were born that way or they ended up having emotional problems, they were exterminated first. And then it just kept on going.
Yep.
That's why true. I think they're scooping them up off the streets if they're not a productive member of society.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, perhaps I'm throwing that out as a theory.
I just don't understand why we have all these FEMA camps. The ex-governor, was it of Michigan or Minnesota? Jesse. He's still thinking about running for president. I wish he actually would. One of the things they did on his show when he had it, they showed in a FEMA camp thousands of coffins. Oh, wow. And then after it aired, all of a sudden they were moved, like within the next day. A bunch of semi-trucks came and took them, and that was at a FEMA location. why he was saying is, why do they need thousands of coffins stacked up like that? It was crazy. Disposable, the plastic type coffins. It was stacks of them. It showed it on his show when he had it at the time. I don't know. It's just a lot of weird things that's going on there, and people don't realize it. And that's what we need to open our eyes about.
You know what else there, aside from the coffins, the other thing that has been rumored that there's a lot of guillotines.
I never heard that. What can you explain a little bit about that?
Just some of the alternative news reports of things like that being used. Well, not being used, but actually being shipped to different places. So I don't have any more information. It was just I've come across this information several times in the last year or two. I wish I could be more specific.
That's a good way to execute people, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to chalk it up for a rumor right now, and without having the concrete facts about it, I mean, what else can I say except that's something I've heard or read about, came across it from numerous sources that mentioned it. So if that's tied in with FEMA, you're trying to piece together. It's just like the same thing about the strange coincidences why the Walmarts in Texas were shut down and some of the strange things that went on with that and then been repurposed for other reasons, maybe possibly associated with FEMA camps. You don't know for sure.
A lot of things are strange. I think we're coming into an age where I just don't recognize America like I did 10, 15 years ago. I mean, I certainly don't every day when I read the news. Of course, the news is fake, but even if it's fake or even if a fraction of it is real, it's a horror movie right there playing out every day in the news.
It is. Oh, yeah. And I think what they're doing is they're distracting over here and doing things over there, and they're hiding things in plain sight, like with FEMA and a lot of things they're doing, and it's very ominous.
Well, I mean, look at all the things going on. We have the Navy saying that, well, UFOs are real, but we don't know where they're coming from. We have that going on. We have our politics right now. It's crazy. They pretty much scrapped everything the last 40-some years with the EPA, to try to help prolong our planet, and make it where you have clean drinking water, and not pollution being dumped in the air. That's all been pretty much scrapped. We got everything is changing. Antarctica is melting. The water that belt coming from the equator going up to, Europe and all that stuff is slowing and stalling. We got a lot of strange things all on the plate at the same time, which has never happened before.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
It's disturbing. It's trying to find the right information about some of the things that are going on. And I have a hard time with media, mainstream media, personally. But then again, I have a little bit of a problem with alternative media sometimes because there's a twist on the story with that as well. So it's really hard to get the straight facts about stuff.
Well, maybe the media doesn't give the straight facts because they are told not to, and they know what would happen to them if they maybe did give the straight facts. How long would it take the FCC to revoke somebody's broadcast license or whatever could happen? I mean, there could be a lot of threats going on with the media we don't even know about.
Oh, yes. I mean, even be it on the radio here, and it says there's quite a number of things I probably have come across here, but I wouldn't be at liberty to want to even go down that rabbit hole to discuss it on the radio, especially if there's a large listenership.
Well, just think about this. Now, we're not talking about abductions right now, right? With somebody who has been abducted. Have you noticed the phone lines since Timothy been on? It's no problem with the phone lines.
That's true. Yeah. Now, next time we have Timothy calling on, is he going to use a different phone from a different place, or what's lined up?
I think he's going to go to a friend's house.
Oh, that's going to be
now, if he still has a problem after that, then he's targeted.
Yeah, we're going to find that out because I just find it's weird. And it wasn't just with him. It's when I've had people on who has been with the Department of the DOD, or when I had the ex-CIA agent on, or when I had the retired FBI agent on about a year and a half ago. The same thing started happening. When I started asking certain questions, that was it pretty much with the conversation with the guests, because the phone would either drop out or we got static or the phone would disconnect constantly. It was weird.
I think there's certain flag words that may trigger these things if it's from CIA or whatever. And then I think on the other hand, I think some people may still have implants, and it may trigger, again, word may trigger something.
It could.
Yeah, I still think it's still tied to some kind of artificial intelligence that's behind the phones, behind all the monitoring and everything that goes on. And maybe these implants are also interacting with it electronically as well on certain people, like some of the people you had on.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to have a guest on here in 2 weeks. She was claiming that remember I was talking about where I had a guest on that was talking about a beach bike. It was a special made bike that was only made by, one at a time type of thing, custom made. And he was talking about it with his wife. Now, he didn't have a cell phone in the living room or anything, but they did have a smart TV. The next day, I swear to God, he said that the next day his phone started flashing where the guy who makes his bikes, where you can get a hold of him, his address, phone number, and all that stuff. It was really weird. Well, I got this lady that's going to be on saying the same thing. She was in their living room talking with her husband about some stuff, and all of a sudden, like a couple hours later, it was all showing up on her phone. She would go on to Facebook. She would go on other type of media, and, what she was talking about, there was popping up. How could it pop up?
Oh, yeah, it's because all the smart TVs. They have they're tied to the internet when you're using satellite TV or maybe the cable. The TVs are hooked up to it as well. So, and what people don't realize, a lot of the newer TVs have microphones built into them as well as cameras. They're built in the screen or out to the side, and they actually will use that for marketing purposes, so they can actually watch people as they're watching shows, gauge reaction. And then, unfortunately, it's also used to listen to you comment, or if you watch certain shows, they can track that, and they can determine a product or some kind of merchandise that they can call or interest you in that you've been discussing.
Yeah, there was somebody actually got called out on it here recently. I'm trying to think who it was, but if I remember, maybe I won't say because I don't want to get a lawsuit. But again, if you got a laptop in your bedroom, if it was me, I would close it at night, okay? Seriously. Or put a towel over the front of it at night, because you know what? There's been cases. There was a teacher about 2 years ago got busted. The school would give out these laptops to all the students, right? And this guy was a pervert. And he would actually go on, because he knew who had the laptops. So he would go on and actually log in or whatever, they didn't know it, get access to their laptops, and he would watch women, the girls undress and all that stuff. He finally got busted. So that tells you you're not even safe with laptops. You're not safe with your cell phone. You're not safe with anything with a smart appliance. You're not safe.
I don't know if you guys remember. Even if you don't have your own cell phone. Oh, I'm sorry, James. I walked on you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if you guys remember, but about 20 years ago, they made a movie about that, and that was before we had smart televisions. And there was an episode on X-Files, same thing. That was before we had these smart televisions, where these TVs, they had some kind of something where they could hear and see what you were doing, and they would program you and try to market these things to you, and they got into your lives.
Oh, yeah. That is really scary that things like that can happen. So what I'm saying, people, you got to be careful what you say around your phone. You know what? You can have your phone turned off and they can actually be monitoring you. And it was really funny. Samsung got busted a couple years ago. They had a homing device built on one of their batteries on one of their phones. That hit the news media too. So, I mean, you sit there and they put their little device to keep track of you on the battery.